Hi, I'm Bonnie Barker with BonnieBabeCrochet.com. I want to welcome you to video number 2 of the Basketweave Diamond Throw. Okay, in video number 1, we learned the stitches, the low front ridge, the cable, low front ridge, and the basket weave. Well, we're going to do a little bit of review, and then we're going to learn some new stitches in this video. In this video segment, we're going to be covering rows 18 through 73. Many of these are repetitive. Some are new. I encourage you, if you haven't gotten a copy yet, to go ahead and print out a copy of this pattern so that you can check off the rows as we go. All right, well, let's go ahead and start with row number 18. Row 18 is a repeat of these rows down here, which is the front, low front ridge. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to chain 1. We're going to skip the first stitch. And again, working only in the front loop, we're going to work a slip stitch across every stitch. Okay, so go ahead and complete that row. After working the slip stitch all the way across the row, we chain 1, turn, and we work in the remaining loop of that single crochet row, and we're single crochet in that remaining loop all the way across. So go ahead and complete that. And just for the record, you should still have 152 stitches. Okay, the stitch count should not change. Okay, we end row 19 by working a single crochet in the last stitch. We do not work in the turning chain. Okay, we're going to turn. I'm going to chain 1, and we are going to now work the row number 20, which is row using the cable stitch. We begin by working a single crochet. Again, this is a review, but we work a single crochet, chain 3, skip the next 2 stitches, and then single crochet in the next. Then we turn our work to work in the chain and work 1 single crochet in each of the chains. I know you probably already know this stitch, but just for those who need review, I'm just reviewing it for a bit. Okay, now we're going to do a slip stitch in that first single crochet. Now I'm going to bring my yarn around the back side of my hook, and I'm going to turn to the right because it's just easier now that we have a lot of material behind us. Okay, and we're going to work single crochets in those 2 stitches that we skipped. Let's do that again. I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and we're going to skip the next 2 stitches that have not been crocheted in, 1, 2, and then we single crochet in the next stitch. We turn to work in the chains, single crochet in each of the chains, 1, 2, 3, and again I'm just working in one of the side loops there, and then slip stitch in that single crochet. I'm going to bring my yarn carefully around the back of the hook and then turn it back so I don't have to flip the entire blanket, and single crochet in the 2 stitches that were skipped. Okay, if you need to review that again, go ahead and back up the video just a bit so that you can understand how these are formed. Go ahead and work these all the way across the row. Okay, I've worked the cable stitch all the way across. I'm working the last stitch, and I'm actually going to have to use that last stitch for that single crochet. Turn, work the 3 single crochets in the chain, slip stitch, and then turn back, and working behind the cable, the 2 single crochets in those 2 stitches that were skipped. And I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to actually work the last single crochet in that same stitch where the last single crochet was worked. Okay, I'm going to turn to work behind the cable row, and I'm going to chain 1. I'm going to work 1 single crochet in that first stitch, and then I'm going to work 1 in the next, and then 2 in the next space. I'm going to do this all the way across. Remember, Once you get past the beginning here, we're going to have one single crochet in one single crochet, and then 2 single crochets in the next stitch. And this is where you're pulling back the cable a little bit to put those 2 in there. And just as a general reminder, behind each cable section, now once you do the first stitch, that's independent of what I'm about to say, but behind every cable here, you're going to have 3 single crochets, and that way the stitch count will stay the same, 182 stitches. So go ahead and work that all the way across. Okay, we end this row by working the last stitch in this stitch right here. It's kind of a single crochet, but it's right here. So after you work the 3 stitches behind the last cable, make sure you work 1 additional stitch at the end. Okay, so let's go ahead and turn, and the next 2 rows are going to be a repeat of the rows 2 and 3, which is the low front ridge. So let's go ahead and do those. I'm just going to go ahead and do both of these rows. I'm going to work my slip stitch, working only in the front loop all the way across. Then I'm going to chain 1, turn, and then on the return trip I'm going to be working a single crochet in the remaining loop of this row right here. So go ahead and do that low front ridge the next 2 rows. Now we start with row 24, and this is preparing for the knurl stitch, but for now, for row 24, we just single crochet, working through both loops all the way across. So single crochet in each stitch all the way across the row. At the end of row 24, do not turn. Go ahead and chain 1, and we're going to work the knurl stitch. Another name for this would be reverse single crochet or the crab stitch. And we're going to work this stitch working only in the front loop. We're not going to go through both. We're just going to use the front loop, and we're going to go from this direction to this direction. We're going to go the opposite direction that we usually crochet. Okay, and in order to do this, we're going to skip the first stitch, because if we work that stitch, it's going to be kind of bulky and it's not going to be flush with the edge like the other stitches kind of are at the moment. So we're going to skip the first stitch. This is not going to change the stitch count, because after we complete the knurl stitch working in the front loop, we're going to chain 1, and we're going to work in the free loop, or the remaining loop, which is back here. We're going to single crochet across these loops, and we're going to crochet in each individual stitch. So we will not change the stitch count. So in order to do this, if you're a beginner, go ahead and dig in. If you've never done this, don't think about it too much. Let the loops lie where they may. It's usually the experienced crocheters that struggle more with this stitch, because they're trying to control how the loops lay on each other. Don't worry about that. So just go to the first front loop of the second stitch, and then just work the motion of a single crochet. Find the next loop. I notice I'm not trying to control how the loops fall or anything, and it may look kind of maybe messy for the first couple tries, and if that's the case, get a little practice swatch out and practice if you'd like. It doesn't have to be perfect, okay? But this is what we do. Just work. Stick the hook in the front loop, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through. Just let the loops fall as they may. I know I'm being redundant. So go ahead and work this all the way across, just carefully going in. Let's see if I can get a better view of this. In the front loop only. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and finish working this all the way across the row. Okay, I've worked this all the way across. I have 1 stitch to do, and I am going to do a backward slip stitch. I'm not going to wrap the hook. I'm just going to pull the loop through and pull the loop through just like so. Okay, I'm going to chain 1. Now I'm working in the remainder of loop, which are right there. I'm going to single crochet This is row number 26. I'm going to single crochet in each stitch all the way across, working in that remaining loop. Okay, and so what you have should look something like this. It's going to be a raised texture. Okay, I've single crocheted using the extra loop that's behind the knurl stitch all the way across. This is row number 26. After this, I am going to turn, and I'm going to chain 1 to begin row 27, which is simply to single crochet in each stitch across. And just to be clear, we're working through both loops of these stitches, and we're going to just single crochet all the way across the row. So go ahead and do that. After crocheting in each stitch across, crocheting a single crochet, I'm going to turn, I'm going to chain 1, and now I'm going to repeat rows 2 through 7, which would be the low front ridge, the two rows of the cable stitch, and then the 2 rows of another low front ridge. So just to simplify things, I'm going to go ahead and start you on each row just as a refresher. And let's go ahead. So this is starting on row number 28 on the pattern. It's rows 28 through 33. It says repeat rows 2 through 7. So we start with our low front ridge. Again, we're skipping the first stitch, working only in the front loop. We're going to slip stitch in each front loop all the way across the row. After working a slip stitch in each front loop across, we're going to turn, we're going to chain 1, and we're going to work a single crochet in each remaining loop. Okay, we're working in the remaining loop just like we've done before, and single crochet in each of these loops all the way across the row. After you've worked your single crochet all the way across using that remaining loop, we're going to chain 1, and now it's time to work the cable stitch, which is the stitch right here. We begin this just as a quick review. Single crochet in the first stitch, chain 3. We're going to skip the next 2 stitches, single crochet in the next stitch. Okay, we're going to turn to work along the chain edge. We're going to single crochet in each of the chains. It's 1, 2, 3, and then after that we're going to slip stitch in the first stitch that we crocheted of that row, and then you can turn your work again, or you could bring the yarn behind the crochet hook, and then we're going to single crochet in the 2 stitches that we just skipped. I'm going to go ahead and do one more of these just as a review, because I know this can be a very challenging stitch. Chain 3 and skip the next 2 stitches that have not been used, and single crochet in the next stitch, turn, single crochet in each of the chains that we just crocheted, and then after that we're going to work a slip stitch in the next stitch. I'm going to bring my yarn to the back side, or you can just turn again and single crochet in the 2 stitches that were skipped. So go ahead and work this all the way across the row. At the end of this row, simply work a single crochet in the last stitch. Now just in case you may have gotten off by a stitch and maybe you don't have this last stitch to work in, you can always work in this turning chain, but do make sure you work a final stitch after the last cable. Alright, so now we're going to turn, chain 1 or chain 1 turn, and we're going to do the row. This is the row that's behind the cable. Again, this is a repeat. We're repeating rows 2 through 7. So we're going to single crochet in the first stitch, and now remember we're going to be working 3 single crochets behind each cable. So you can do that by working either 2 and then 1, or 1 then 2, as long as you have 3 stitches behind that. So I'm going to just, like I just did, I worked 2 and then I worked 1, worked 2 single crochets behind the next stitch, and then 1 more. So go ahead and work that all the way across. 2 single crochets, and then pull back the cable and do 1. Okay, so go ahead and work that all the way across. After working 3 stitches behind each cable, I get to the end and go ahead and work 1 more single crochet. It's going to be kind of like in the top of the single crochet, but it's going to feel like you're working in a turning chain. But go ahead and make sure you put 1 stitch at the end. Okay, so now I'm going to turn. I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to work another repeat of this low front ridge. I'm going to go ahead and work both stitches, or rather both rows, and then come back to you. I'm going to work slip stitch, working in the front loop only, all the way across, and I'm going to start this one in not the first, but in the second stitch. So working in that front loop only, work slip stitch all the way across, and then in each stitch, and then at the end of the row, we're going to turn, chain 1, and then working in the remaining loop on the pass back. Working on the remaining loop, we're going to single crochet in each stitch across. Do not crochet in any turning chains. Just go ahead and single crochet in the remaining loop as you come back on the second pass. Okay, so go ahead and do that, and then I'll show you what to do next. So after completing rows 28 through 33, which is a repeat of rows 2 through 7, you're going to see those repeats again in this afghan or throw. You should have this portion completed. Okay, now we're going to move on to the diamond section. So to begin the diamond section, rows 34 and 35 read chain 1, so we'll chain 1, and single crochet in each stitch across and turn. So I'm going to do this for 2 rows, for rows 34 and 35. So I'm just single crochet, I'm going to work single crochet in each stitch across, and then I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to work another row of single crochet. So go ahead and work those 2 rows. Okay, now we're ready to begin the diamond pattern. Now these rows can be a little confusing because you're going to be working normally across the row, working in the previous row's loops, but you're also at different times going to be asked to work down 1, 2, 3 rows below, which would be through the or actually working a front post around the row 3 rows below. So you have to kind of pay attention to this one, and it is a little bit tricky. So I'm going to go as slowly as I can so I can try to get us all through this. Okay, we're going to chain 1, and I must say that this row that we're going to work now is the foundational row for the diamond stitches. So if this row doesn't go right, it's going to be hard to make it good after this. So let's make sure that we get this row established correctly. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is single crochet in the first stitch of the row. Now the next direction is to front post treble around the 4th single crochet 3 rows below. That's a mouthful. So let me show you which one this is. This is the 1st, 2nd, 3rd. Okay, let me move my thumb out of the way here. I'll do this again. 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th single crochet 3 rows below. So I'm going to wrap my hook twice, and I'm going to work a front post treble crochet. Okay, I hope you can see that. So now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to skip the next stitch that's way up here on the row that we normally work. We're going to skip the next stitch, and we're going to single crochet in the next 4. So we're skipping this stitch, and actually the reason we do that is this stitch up here takes its place. So we're going to single crochet 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to front post treble crochet 3 rows below in the next stitch that was next to the one we just worked. So we just worked this one. So we're going to go back, and we're going to work a front post treble like so. Okay, now we're going to work another front post treble. We're going to skip down on this row, skip 4 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to front post treble in the next one. Okay, let me go ahead and pause so you see what I'm doing here. Okay, we started in the 4th stitch here with these trebles, and the next treble we worked was right beside that one. Then we skipped 4 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we trebled in the next. Now back up on the top row here, we're going to skip the next 2. We made 2 trebles, so we're going to skip 2 stitches on this row, 1, 2. And by the way, this is going to keep our stitch count constant. It's not going to change. So skip these 2, and then single crochet in the next 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to do this again, and this is what we're going to do all the way across the row. Okay, we're going to work a front post treble right next to the stitch that we just worked. Now we're going to skip 4 stitches down below, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to work another front post treble in that next stitch. Okay, and I'm going to pause and show you how this is progressing. Okay, and back here, skip 2 stitches and then work 4 single crochets, and well, 1 single crochet in the next 4 stitches. Okay, so go ahead and work this all the way across. Okay, I've worked this all the way across the row, and then I come to the last 2 stitches. I'm going to go ahead and work a front post treble, working down 3 rows below, right next to the last treble that was worked. I'm going to skip the next stitch and then single crochet in the very next stitch. Okay, let's talk about some troubleshooting here in case the angles of these trebles are not like the bottom half of a diamond. Some things that you may want to go back and check. If yours doesn't look similar to mine, you may want to go back and check when you started. Did I start in the 4th single crochet down below? Let me go ahead and show that to you. Okay, right back here. Did I really start in the 4th chain? You know, sometimes you can miscount this, so it's 1st, 2nd, 3rd, the 4th single crochet, rather, not the chain, the 4th single crochet. If you didn't start in that one, if you started further over, it's going to be a harsher angle that you don't want. If you started before that, it's going to be more like vertical rather than at an angle. Another possibility that you want to check, make sure that you did skip 1, 2, 3, 4 single crochets down here in between these front post trebles. Okay, make sure that you did not skip stitches down here with the trebles when you form the diamond. Okay, another possibility to check for, did you skip the 2 stitches behind the front post trebles? If you forget to skip those 2 stitches, or if you skip more than 2, that could also put the angles of these stitches off. So just some suggestions in case you're not getting what you need to be getting on this row. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and go on to the next 3 rows, and this would be rows 37 through 39, and they are simply going to be chain 1, chain 1, okay, and single crochet in each stitch across. So we're going to single crochet all the way across, only in the stitches. Do not chain, do not single crochet in the chain stitches, in the turning chains. Okay, and then we're going to come back, and then we're going to go back again. We're going to do 3, okay, 3 rows of single crochet, and then I will show you the next row of the diamonds. And I have a quick explanation as to why you didn't have to do 3 rows initially to start this. And that's because the first row of single crochet was actually row 2 of the low front ridge. That's the only reason why we didn't have to do an extra row there. So from this point on, before we change to making the row with the post stitches, we're going to have 3 rows of single crochet in between. So go ahead and finish those 3 rows, and then we'll start the row following that. After completing the 3 rows of single crochet, that brings us to row number 40. We're going to chain 1 and single crochet in the first 3 stitches. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do is we are going to front post treble crochet right above the stitch. Is 3 rows down, 1, 2, 3, and it's going to be right above the single crochet that is above the last front post treble worked, just like this. Okay, just for clarification, the pattern says the 3rd stitch in. Actually, it says the 2nd stitch in. It should say the 3rd stitch in, but as long as you're working it right above, right onto the single crochet that is above the last front post treble, you will be fine. Okay, so after that, we're going to skip the 4 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're going to work the next single crochet, and this one is also going to be right above the last front post treble that was worked down below. I know that's a lot of wording, but the goal is to form a diamond like so. So just to reiterate, we are working in the single crochet 3 rows down and the single crochet that's right above this post stitch, and we skip these 4, and then we do another front post treble crochet around this single crochet, which should be right above the single crochet, which is right above this treble. Now, working back on our current row, we're going to skip these 2 stitches and then work 4 single crochets. And then we're going to repeat this all the way across the row. So after those 4 single crochets, we're going to treble crochet in the single crochet 3 rows down, which is right above this treble. Let's try that one again so I get all the strands involved here. Okay, now I go on to the one right across. I skip these 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually right up here, I'm sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, and it should be right above that treble. This is a very visual pattern, so if you're not doing it right, you should know right away. Okay, so skip these 2, and then 4 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4. I should say 1 single crochet in the next 4 stitches, and then we do it again. We work our treble crochet right on the next stitch, 3 rows down. And then we find the next one, which is right here, and so we're going to work it around this stitch. Working on the current row, skip 2, and then work single crochets in the next 4 stitches. Okay, so let's just take a look. So what you should have are diamonds forming just like this. Okay, and again, if it's not looking like this, or if the angles are too steep or too straight, you may want to just do a troubleshoot like we had talked about, just checking how many stitches. Make sure that you're not skipping more than 2 stitches behind the front post trebles. Make sure you single crocheted at least 3 stitches here, and that you have 4 in between, and that should do it. Also be careful that you're not skipping stitches, along the way. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and finish this row. So I've worked this row all the way across, have a nice row of diamonds, and for the last bit of this row, I skipped these 2 stitches behind the 2 front post trebles, and I'm going to single crochet in the last 3 stitches. So I've already done the first, That's the next one, and the third. Okay, so that ends row number 40. Now row number 41 is simply single crochet in each stitch across. So I chain one, and I'm going to single crochet in each stitch all the way across the row. Okay, now that I've finished row 41 and I've turned, I want to show you what the diamond should look like. And so from this point on, or for the remainder of the diamond section, you have rows 42 through 57, which is the rows from here through here. I want you to repeat this section 2 more times. So when we finish the diamond section, you should have this section should be 3 diamonds wide. So 1, 2, 3. You should have 3 diamonds wide. So go ahead and work that section, and then I'll give you the next assignment. Now that I've completed the 42 through 57, it's rows 42 through 57, I have the diamond panel to show you. It is 3 diamonds deep. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so what you have should look like this at this point. Okay, I'm going to give you another assignment. It's a bit hefty, but it's something that you've already done. Rows 58 through 73, say to repeat rows 18 through 33. So rather than get confused and bogged down with numbers, I'm going to just show you what you're going to be doing next. What you're going to do is you're going to do this section here on to the other end down here. Okay, so we're going to start with 2 rows of the low front ridge, followed by 2 rows of the cable stitch, and then 2 more of the low front ridge. And then you're going to do the section where you have the single crochet rows, the knurl stitch, and a couple more single crochet rows, and then another low front ridge, or 2 rows that is, and then 2 rows with the cable stitch, and then 2 more rows with the low front ridge. If you need stitch support on doing this, all you need to do is go back to the beginning of this video and start it over, and you will have all the instruction you need to go through these rows. Even though they're given different numbers, they are the same. So go ahead and work this panel section here one more time, and that will bring you to the end of row 73. When we begin video number 3, we will begin the center basket weave diamond pattern. Look forward to seeing you then. God bless. Bye-bye.